Assalamu alaikum. Friends, welcome back to the channel, The Faithful Academy. We are a homeschooling family. We are continuing to read the series, The Prophets of Allah, Volume 3. Today's story we're going to read is about Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam. Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam was born into the tribe of Madian many centuries before Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Shu'aib alayhi salam came from a very noble and respected family. His great-great-grandfather, also named Madian, was the son of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, and his wife was Keturah. The people of Madian lived in Hijaz, the land of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, close to the eastern bank of the Red Sea. Madian was a bright and sunny land with waterfalls and orchards filled with trees that grew delicious fruits. An abundance of fragrant flowers perfumed the air. The people of Madian were traders. Allah had blessed them with the presence of two waterways, the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aqaba. These waters were very helpful to the traders because they would use them to transport their goods to other areas for trade. At first, the tribe of Madian was very small. Then Allah blessed them with many children. Soon the people of Madian formed a lively, bustling city. As they grew in number, they also grew in wealth and success. They continued to build larger buildings and expand their businesses, taking great pride in what they had accomplished. But as the years passed, they began to lose sight of what was important in life. They forgot the teachings of Islam that Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam had brought to them. They did not thank Allah for all the blessings that He had given them. As Shu'aib alayhi salam grew up, he watched the people around him and he became disturbed by what he saw. His people were drinking, gambling, and stealing from one another. When they did business, they cheated their customers by giving them less than what they paid for. Instead of worshipping Allah, they prayed to idols which they had made with their own hands. The people were so lost that they did not even realize that what they were doing was wrong. They did not realize that all of their riches and wealth were gifts from Allah. They thought that it was purely by chance that they lived in such a beautiful and scenic land. Shu'aib alayhi salam continued to pray that his people would turn towards Allah and see the truth. When he became an adult, Allah made him a prophet and ordered him to bring the people of Madian back to the straight path. When he found out the news, Shu'aib alayhi salam was full of joy and eagerness. Nothing in the world could be better than to serve the call of Allah. Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam began his task immediately. "O my people," he called to them, "worship Allah, who is your only Lord. Give up these idols which are deaf, dumb, and blind. They can do nothing for you." He then advised them to act in a fair and responsible manner, saying, "Stop cheating people by giving them fewer goods than they pay for. Stop taking away the rights of the people. Stop making others afraid to worship Allah, and do not stop them from turning towards Him in prayer. Remember what happened to those who refused to believe in Allah?" Allah had blessed Shu'aib alayhi salam with a beautiful and melodic voice. He spoke in a clear and gentle tone, using rich and poetic language. People would come just to hear his voice as he preached. Many great scholars have given him the name of Khatib al-Anbiya, which means the voice of the prophets. Despite his beautiful voice and the logical message he brought, many people still refused to follow Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam. They did not like what he had to say, and they simply refused to change their ways. They did not think that obeying Allah was important. "Oh Shu'aib," they shouted, "does your Lord teach you that we must give up all the idols that our grandfathers worshipped before us? Why does he tell you that we cannot do what we want with our own goods?" Shu'aib alayhi salam always responded to their screaming complaints in a polite and dignified manner. He spoke calmly and kindly to show them that he really cared about them. He knew that many of them were wonderful people who had simply lost touch with the truth. "Oh, my people," he said, "think about the message what I bring you. I do not want to fight with you. I only wish that you would stop doing the evil things that will ruin you. I want nothing from you except that you obey Allah." Unfortunately, the more he talked to them and the more he pointed out the error of their ways, the angrier they became. "Do not let your hatred of me cause you to disbelieve in the message that I bring," he pleaded. "If you do not believe in Allah, you will be punished just like the people of Nuh alayhi salam, the people of Hud alayhi salam, the people of Saleh alayhi salam, and the people of Lut alayhi salam were punished." "We do not understand what you are talking about, Shu'aib," the people said rudely. "You are a weakling. If you were not from the family of Madian, we would stone you. We are certainly much more powerful than you." Although most of the townspeople were not receptive of his teachings, eventually Shu'aib alayhi salam's efforts began to pay off. Slowly, people became convinced that he really was a prophet of Allah and that he brought them a true message. Day by day, his followers began to increase in number as they examined the problems within their society. They stopped gambling and cheating. They gave up their idols and accepted Allah as their only Lord. The leaders of Madian watched all this in growing fear. Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam was teaching his people to stand up for justice and to speak out against oppression, and the leaders of Madian did not like it one bit. They felt that Shu'aib alayhi salam was a threat to their power and influence over the people. They knew that if he continued to gain followers, they would be in serious trouble. When they could no longer stand it, the kuffar decided to terrorize the believers. "If you continue to follow that crazy man, we will kill you," they threatened. Sometimes they would block the streets by standing in front of the believers and not allowing them to pass. When others were not around, they would grab Shu'aib alayhi salam's followers and beat them. They believed that their scare tactics would shake the faith of the righteous. "We will take everything away from you if you continue this nonsense," they warned. Despite the kuffar's constant pressure, Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam's followers continued to meet and spread his message. All the days passed, the treatment from the kuffar became even worse. The kuffar were now openly harassing the believers, telling them to leave town. It hurt Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam to see his followers suffer. "If some of you believe in this message that I have brought from Allah, and some of you do not believe in it, just wait and be patient," he consoled them. "Allah will show you who has made the best choice." Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam's wise words were ignored by the sinister people of Madian. Even members of his own tribe began to threaten to banish him from the city. They said, "O Shu'aib, we will drive you and your followers out of this city if you do not give up preaching Islam." Finally, Allah became angry with the people of Madian. He had given them many chances to change their ways. He had sent a kind and gentle prophet to them who was of their own people. It was clear that nothing would make them see the truth. The only thing to do was to punish them the way other people before them had been punished for rejecting the truth. One night, as the people slept soundly, a giant earthquake shook the city. It started as a low rumbling, but it soon elevated into a booming crash as earth suddenly came to life. The ground began to shake violently, rocking back and forth. Along the ground, cracks appeared and widened into deep craters that swallowed entire homes. The non-believers were thrown out of their beds by the force of the shake. They bounced uncontrollably off the walls and floors as their houses collapsed on top of them. Many of them realized that this was the punishment of Allah that Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam had promised would come. But by that time, it was far too late. Although Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam was very kind-hearted, he told his followers not to grieve for those who had died in the earthquake. I brought them a clear and pure message from Allah. It was a message for their own good. I cannot feel sorry for them or cry for them since they continue to refuse the truth, he explained. Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam was ordered by Allah to take his people and move to a nearby country where they lived happily for many years. In their new land, they were free to gather and learn from their wise and insightful Prophet alayhi salam. They knew that this community of believers was the perfect environment to raise their children to become respectful and fair adults. May Allah bless them for their efforts and strength. Ameen. Okay, friends, that's it for today. Please don't forget to subscribe and join us in the next video with the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Assalamu alaikum.